After weeks of speculation, Brett Cooper, who commonly mistaken for Ben Shapiro's daughter, has left what a lot of people thought to be her own YouTube channel. But no, not. Daily Wire's YouTube channel. And since uploading that video to the comment section with Brett Cooper, announcing their split, there's been a lot of developments. For one, she said that it was her own decision to leave, while other sources claim that she was pushed out. Her fans on TikTok were sneakily asking her to wear blue if she's under an NDA and she can't speak. And she did, but we'll get to that. But then most importantly, the channel with over 4.5 million subscribers called The Comment Section with Brett Cooper is now just called The Comment Section and is handed over to the Daily Wire. And Brett will be starting over from scratch. So, who's to blame? What's the real story? All of that and more. So, I don't know, let's get cracking.
I've never seen him do like a full video before. I've only seen him on TikTok, so this is like pretty intense.
Okay, so if you clicked on this video, you probably know who Brett Cooper is. But if you don't, she's essentially a conservative commentary YouTuber who has blown up over the past few years. And she very much exists in the sphere of Jordan Peterson, Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, etc. She's been posting roughly twice a day for the past 2 years, with, of course, the help and the production side from Daily Wire. And if you don't know what Daily Wire is, it's a right-wing media company founded by Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring in 2015. According to The Spectator, the Daily Wire raised an undisclosed round of capital in 2023 at a valuation of north of $1 billion. So no longer just some small little YouTube production studio. And they are on track to surpass 200 million in revenue by the end of this year. So yeah, got big money behind this channel. They
Don't ever let conservatives convince you they don't make money. Don't ever let conservatives convince you that they are not bringing in the dollar bills. They make so much money.
Movies, series, children's shows, and of course they have talent like Brett Cooper and many others. Now, a few weeks ago, seemingly out of nowhere, and I think the point really needs to be made, this is a YouTube channel, and it feels just like one person that is running it, right?
No. Nobody looked at Brett Cooper's YouTube channel and thought this was a real YouTuber. Not one single person ever watched Brett Cooper's channel and thought this wasn't a production. But I will say, to normies, they might think that. I think normies, who are definitely not us, probably think that. But to us, it's obviously it's obviously a set. It's obviously fake. It's obviously all that stuff. But I wonder, because Dylan is quite popular on TikTok. He does have a lot of normies who watch him. I wonder to his audience if that's what it looks like, right? Yeah, no.
Suddenly, another girl steps in, the producer of this show, which, a lot of the time you don't even know that it has a producer. And she says in this video that she's filling in for...
Yeah, I think he's talking to normies. Like, he's not talking to us. He's not talking to YouTubers. He's talking to people who aren't living on YouTube. So this could make sense.
Brett Cooper today, and she didn't really elaborate as to why, and then just continue with the story. And at the start of this, the first video, seeing how similar this girl was to Brett, a lot of her fans thought it was funny, with one of the top comments reading, "You've actually nailed everything about Brett. Her mannerisms, her inflections, her hand gestures, her facial expression, her smooth ad transitions, laughing face." Over 2,000 people agreed with that. But then as you go through the videos, when she fills in again, and then again, and then again, this funniness, that everyone thought it was, started to turn a little bit to like, okay, a little bit concerned now. Rumors then started floating around that she was being pushed out by the Daily Wire. And the first person that I heard speak about this whole situation was Ian Carroll. And he had this to say.
And so I started digging in more. I talked to James and I went and I started digging in and found my own source right at the Daily Wire. And now I've had even more come and corroborate it since I reported on it. And it's not just that the Daily Wire is pushing out Brett Cooper. It's actually that Brett Cooper is under one of these contracts that has her basically tied to secrecy and silence, because now they're terminating her contract. Their arbitration clauses are coming into play. So she is in a secret court of arbitration, not a public court, where she is under NDA and can't say anything about it while they spin whatever narrative they want about it. And they're circulating around letters internally that are saying like, oh, Brett Cooper wants to leave. And that is not the case at all, apparently, according to everyone at the Daily Wire that I've spoken to. And it's that she had disagreements with Jeremy Boring over what happened with Candace probably, and certainly more disagreements in terms of like the culture there and what's going on.
Okay, first of all, stupid move to stand up for Candace Owens. I am not sympathetic to Brett. Just for the record, if Brett Cooper had a disagreement with Daily Wire over Candace Owens, I don't care. I do not care, girl. Because defending Candace Owens is loser behavior. Absolutely not. So just for the record, If Brett was having problems because of Candace, I do not give an F, especially, okay? So no sympathy for Brett. Also, just a reminder that Brett Cooper is a homophobe and a transphobe, and all these people at the end of the day are bigots who use their platform. So like the moment you go feeling sorry for her, okay? The moment you go feeling sorry for these homophobes and bigots, just remember they will step all over your grave and laugh while they do it and then pretend to pray for you. So just like take a deep breath before we're, oh my God, poor Brett Cooper. I feel so bad for her. I don't know if that's really the hill you all want to die on. Okay. Chat says, isn't Brett's best friend gay? So my mother has 3 gay children. Doesn't make her less homophobic. So I have a black friend, guys. Guys, I have a black friend. I have a gay friend. I have a trans friend. Are you willing to vote against their civil rights? Okay, so with peace and love, a bigot is a bigot is a bigot. You can love a bigot, but that doesn't mean I feel sorry for them. You know what I mean? When they go on defending other bigots and that's why they get pushed out. Okay? Also, these types of situations are partially acting, which is why I tell you, just that little moment I had in my early 20s, the moment I had the same opportunity Brett Cooper had, only had it on talk radio, of the possibility of me having a show with a bunch of other young people. Okay, this is many, many years ago, way back in the wild, wild west, where I was told I would be the lesbian conservative, but if I ever had a difference of orientation or politics, I would keep it private. But in public, I would always be the concern. That would be the brand. And I couldn't escape the brand and I wasn't allowed to change my brand. That's why so many conservatives are grifters. Because even if they change behind closed doors, they're not allowed to in public because that's the brand, right? They're giving their audience what they want. So again, I couldn't do it. I knew from then on I couldn't be a part of this world. And same with everything else I do. I'm not interested in being a part of a bubble that forces me to pretend I'm different in public than in private at any cost. Because I just refused to do it. But I did. I walked into that radio station. I recorded an episode. I had my shtick. I had my thing. And it felt weird. Because at the time, I was like, I think I might be a different person later. And I am. Look at me, my pansexual queen. Look at this pansexual gender fluid queen. You know what I mean? I couldn't do this. And so this is what I'm trying to say to people. Like, as much as you want to pretend like Ben Shapiro and all these people aren't following scripts, there's definitely a script to be followed because that's what makes the most money. An audience loves a script. One of the greatest feedback I get from my audience is, Brittany, I really like you, but I'm really upset with one of your takes because it goes against what I thought you were. They're not saying you're different than I thought you were. They're saying you're different than I wanted you to be. People don't watch you because they want the real, authentic you, which is why authenticity is also a brand. They want you to be the thing they watch and feel comforted by. Which is why I could grift, I could follow a shtick, I could do a script and make a lot more money. But it's too hard for me. It's too hard for me to mask. It's too hard for me to lie. It's way too hard. It's probably the autism. But let me tell you this, there's a reason it works. It is a great business decision. This whole live stream today is about business, money, what works, what makes a customer come back every day. They know what to expect. Actually, when I went to Brett Cooper's video about her leaving, the comments were, if it's not Brett, I'm not watching. Because that's their expectation. They don't come to the comment sections to see Reagan. They come to the comment sections to see Brett. So even changing people is upsetting to people because now you're ruining their expectation. They don't like it. Now, some will stay. They'll convert it to Reagan and she'll be the new face. But ultimately, people get used to the voice, used to the experience, used to the shtick. And when you change it on them, they're confused and they're angry. It's like when you change anything at your favorite coffee shop or change anything out of people's schedules, they don't like it. People don't like changes, even though there's always got to be change because it moves everybody forward. If you go back and you look at old branding for Starbucks cups, you remember how everyone complains about Starbucks cups every year? It doesn't say Merry Christmas. Now it says Happy Holidays. Oh, I'm not drinking at Starbucks. All those people will come back to Starbucks eventually, or some of them won't. But that's how fickle people are. People will be so upset with you. They will stop drinking your coffee if, God forbid, you take off Merry Christmas and put Happy Holidays. This is why as a business, you have to somewhat cater to your audience because ultimately they're very fickle, general audiences, right? Chat says this is why it's so frustrating when liberals are even charitable towards Shapiro. Not that my experience is that he relies on facts, but ultimately, what does it matter if there's no world where he changes? Oh, no world where he changes. Yeah, I think the biggest part, okay, so we have to zoom out. So politically, micro-wise, sure, but let's zoom out of all of humanity. In order for humanity to be peaceful, in order for all of us to truly get along with people, you have to get along with bigoted people. So the irony and the difficulty of this is, how do I learn to get along with bigoted people when they don't really want to get along with me? It's getting along with people, but not at the expense of yourself. I don't think humanity is there yet. And I think we all have to accept that. Like, I am a pretty extreme pacifist. I don't think violence is ever the answer, though I think violence is sometimes the corner we're pushed into. But I think people are too violent. I think people are way too traumatized. And I think humans are way too messy as a species to ever actually be good, even though I think we're all good because we're working within our nature. I think humans, generally speaking, are bad at parenting, bad at money, bad at life, myself included. I think people are bad at living. And I think that's proof by the loneliness epidemic, our debt, our lack of education, our lack of curiosity. And I don't think that means we're morally bad. I'm not condemning you. I'm stating what I think is a fact. I think we are not efficient as a species, even though we're pretty efficient if you zoom out. We're pretty good at our jobs. We're pretty good at things. And both of these things have to be true at once, true at the same time. Lauren, thank you so much for the super chat. Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you so much. We love it. So again, when we're meeting people where we're at, we're really meeting ourselves where we're at. So every time I meet a conservative where they're at, I'm meeting former Republican Brittany, because I was a Republican. And that's what I do. I meet her. And listen, I don't care if you're a bigot. I don't think I have the right to hurt you. I think that's first and foremost my belief. I don't think I'm allowed to hurt you because you're bigoted. In the same front, I don't think anyone has the right or feels entitled to hurting people. I think people feel entitled to hurting people. Even progressive people feel this way. They think if it's the right kind of person, it's worth them. And I don't actually believe that. Like, I just want to make it abundantly clear. As I age, as I get older, I don't actually hold those beliefs. I'm not saying my belief is correct. I'm saying it is my belief. You can disagree with me. You can make the argument for why violence is better. You can make an argument that it has to happen. On the micro, violence has to occur. I only think it occurs because we're left with no other choices, because we're not good enough to make better choices. I don't think we know how to make better choices. So just because you're making a decision that's your only decision doesn't mean it's the best decision. It just means it's the only one you have available. These are two different things. These are very, very two different things. And I don't think people know the difference. They think, well, if it's my only option, it's the best decision. I don't think so. I don't think that's true. When you watch Brett and you watch all these people, they are running a script, but more than that, I think it's a reflection of people as a whole. Even if they're all grifters, they are appealing to the people who watch them. And that's really your concern. Your concern isn't the Ben Shapiros. It's the people who love him and watch him. It's the people who make excuses for him. Gay Jordan Peterson, thank you so much. Gifted 1 membership. Congratulations to Basket. Woo woo. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's go back to this video.
And is now getting pushed out. They are promoting her best friend, who was her maid of honor at her wedding. They offered her a contract that was so lucrative she couldn't refuse it.
The best friend that her bestie had was already offered.
Producer Reagan,
bridesmaid.
Yeah, her producer was her bridesmaid at her wedding this year, and they apparently allegedly gave her acting classes to help her imitate Brett's mannerisms.
Now, there's a lot more detail to what Ian claims in here. I mean, this is like a half-an-hour conversation, but
I'm sorry, just on that note, I do think my theory is that Brett's mannerisms were manufactured, so they're trying to rebuild the same brand with the same mannerisms, like a news station. You know how news people all have the same mannerisms? I think that's what they're trying to do. So I think Brett's mannerisms are manufactured because she's an actress. So they remanufactured it with Reagan, and I think that's really normal. Like, I think that's I need you guys to understand. This is how news is done. That's why it's code switching. Like, when you do news, people don't talk like that. It's called news voice. It's called producer voice. It's called radio voice. It's a voice. YouTubers have it. We have a voice. This isn't how people talk. You just have the voice. So it's kind of normal to me, right? Chat says it's like replacing the main character in the new season of the show. Different face, same person. Exactly. And it's gonna work. I don't have any doubt it will work because it's always worked before.
He alleges that Brett was being pushed out by the co-founder of the company, Jeremy Boring, due to disagreements. He claims that Brett is getting screwed 9 ways till Sunday while Jeremy tries to make it seem like they are splitting amicably.
Business. This is all business stuff, of course.
And he also claims that Brett is under a non-disclosure agreement, so she can't speak publicly about anything without being liable while they can set the tone for it. And to that point, and keep in mind, this could be entirely a coincidence. I don't know how often she wears blue, but from this article that The Spectator wrote about it, they were saying that a lot of her TikTok fans were commenting saying, wear blue on your last day if you are under an NDA and you can't speak freely about this situation. And she did.
Yeah, I don't know. Seems a little parasocial to me, but could be something. Maybe not. Maybe Brett's going to be like, I didn't realize the right was this way. I thought they were good and for Christ. And then she comes out as a progressive in 10 years. Maybe she goes through the same journey I went through, which was like, wait, are conservatives grifting? Not every single one of them. And usually not the viewers. The viewers aren't the grifters. It's usually the people putting it on. But also I do think like a lot of these people do believe what they believe, right? I do think like Ben Shapiro believes what he believes. I do think like, you know, I don't think he's grifting, but I think he's running a news agency, which is different. You know, this conspiracy theory stuff is silly, but maybe Brett has the same awakening that I had, which was like, oh, yeah, which by the way, I just want to say this out loud. This is where I deviate with the progressives as a political movement. I need you to understand violence is never the answer. So when you say violence is necessary in justice, yes, on the micro, absolutely. But you are all settling for the continuation of violence because it's the only thing you know how to do. And so you are no better than the people who evoke violence because ultimately it is still just violence. And they don't like that. Nobody wants to hear that. And I agree with you. You should defend yourself. But the irony is not lost on me that violence is still, no matter what political party you're associated with, the only answer anybody can come up with because they don't know how to be peaceful without being a pushover. And that's the problem. Nobody understands how to be peaceful without being a pushover. Not choosing violence is not about being a pushover. And if you don't know how to choose peace over violence and not be a pushover, that's on you. And so with peace and love, the fact that I'm saying violence is not the answer and people are disappointed in me even slightly, that's where we need to meditate. Or not. Maybe I'm very wrong. Maybe I'm very wrong, but it's always been violence and I still see the same issue. Or maybe I just have, maybe I just learned something different on my path. But note that I feel like I get criticism from people. Maybe they should look at their life and decide where they're coming from. That's how I feel. Chad says, how do we get the government to agree to no violence? You must be a non-violent community. America is so violent. Gun violence, civil rights violence, everything is violence. Everything we do is violence in America. We're all about that is America's culture. So that's the problem. Like, we're all about violence in this culture. We're all about violence. You must change the culture. And you change with yourself. But that's the dilemma. Start with who you wish ill on. Meditate with yourself 5 minutes a day and ask yourself, who do you wish pain upon? And then ask yourself, how do you justify that? I wish pain on no people. I wish no pain on no people. 0 people do I wish pain on at this point in my life. Before, guys, I used to wish pain on people. I used to dream about being a gun owner. I used to like work out to beat up people. Like, not that I ever did, but I would fantasize about violence being justice. So again, I just want you to think about that. Start there. 5 minutes a day. Who do I wish would be in pain? And how do I go to sleep every night wishing people would be in pain? Think of your worst enemy and then realize you have enemies and ask yourself, how are you a good person? What does a good person even mean if being a good person means having enemies? So now I'm raising a child and I say to a child, you know how you be a good person? You have enemies. And which part of a recipe of being a good person does it include having enemies? I have no enemies. I have problems. And I learn to solve those problems, not by killing, but by doing what's reasonable. And usually that has to do with like, I'll mind my business, you know? Okay? So again, with peace and love, when we're moving through life and we want to point fingers at people, point it at yourself first. Because that's where it starts. The government is a reflection of us as a whole. Everyone is a reflection of us as a whole. Chad says, question on the meaning of violence. Are animals fighting for food, territory, mating violent? Yes, animals are very violent. I'm not telling you you can be without violence. I actually think it is humans. It is obviously humans' nature to be violent. All animals are violent. Nature itself is violent. We are violent. But I'm saying you don't have to be. So when you say, why is the world so violent? Because you're violent. I know why the world was violent. I was a violent person, like in my thoughts. In my thoughts. So you can have a different relationship with your biological experience. You can be less violent. And I'm just saying, you want the government to be less violent? Start with yourself. You have to remember the reason America is a superpower is because we're the most violent nation. We have the biggest guns and the biggest military. We do not live in a global universe, like a global planet where people aren't using violence to take over. Israel is doing horrible things to Palestine right now and Lebanon. Do not get it twisted. Israel just used weapons to ruin the soil around Lebanon so they couldn't come back and make a living there on purpose to create a buffer between them and Lebanon. Let me tell you this with peace and love, that violence is the one currency in the world to dominate and colonize. And so I don't blame you for being violent. I'm saying accept that you are violent first before condemning everybody else for being violent, and then we can have a conversation. Because if I'm getting criticized even slightly about being non-violent and not advocating for violence, and they say, but Brittany, we have to be violent. Exactly. You two go be violent over there, because I don't need to be pushed over by anybody. But at the same time, I know why you're doing it. I know exactly why Israel is being violent. I know exactly why everyone's being violent. October 7th makes just as much sense to me as Israel makes sense to me. For every reason you have for violence Israel is creating, America was founded on. Violence is a human condition. So when you ask yourself, how do we make the world less violent? Start with yourself, because that's the only solution we have right now. That's the only thing you can do. I have no enemies. And I don't meet very many people who can say the same thing. And if you asked Brittany 10 years ago, she would have listed off all her enemies to you. If you asked me a decade ago, I would have had a Christmas list of enemies for you. And now I have no enemies. I only have myself to work on. That's the point. Okay?
So it could be a coincidence. It could be more than that. Now, in this last day announcement that she made, she says that the rumors of why she was leaving was mostly true. But
hold on, just to finish up this conversation, chat says violence does make change happen, though, good or bad, whether we like it or not. Exactly. I agree with you. Violence does make change. 100%. If I cut my arm off, my life would change. If I killed my neighbor, everyone's life would change. If somebody nukes the White House, life would change. Violence makes change, and it's not always for the better. And that's the point. It does bring change. Violence brought about America. Without violence, we wouldn't have this country, or that country, since I don't live there. If we never had violence, we wouldn't have any country. We'd have a different version of whatever life would be. It's not good or bad. It's just change. The illusion that violence brings good change is not guaranteed, but it will bring change. And we've been doing it forever, and we're still unhappy. So maybe we try a different method. Okay? We've been doing it since the beginning of time. It's not working. Because violence is the same excuse they use when they deny you healthcare. They just call it suffering as a martyr. That's the difference. The difference is that we think violence, even in the form of suffering, is somehow good, healthy. Sacrificing is different than suffering. We all must sacrifice, and we all must suffer wisely. But the way the world wants you to suffer through violence is not wise, guys. Don't fall for that as the only way to be when you have so many other options.
The difference being that it was her choice to leave, not that she was being pushed out, although she didn't say why she was leaving. I'd love to know. And if she never says, even when she creates her own YouTube channel and stuff, that'll be sus. But then she also played a short clip of Jeremy Boring. Is his surname really Boring? Well, it's boring today. But even then, he doesn't comment on why she left. He just says she's amazing and that he wishes her all the best. But that is not where the story ends. Because number one, for Daily Wire, this isn't their first public controversy / splitting with talent. And two,
yeah, but Candace Owens is not worth fighting over. Let me tell you guys, she is not worth it. Chat says, what you're saying reminds me of Aang versus Ozai. Yeah, I'm an Aang belief person. I think you have to do what's necessary to make things happen, but ultimately I try to harm reduce. Harm reduction is very easy if you just do what I'm doing. If I just am responsible for myself, harm reducing is very easy. I don't punch people. I don't stab people. I don't murder people. I don't, roughhouse people. I certainly don't shoot people in the streets. I don't choose lines of work that force me to shoot people in the streets. If I need to harm reduce as a singular person, it's quite easy. If I try to harm reduce as a country, I'm effed. because y'all are too violent. People are way too excited to see people die. And I'm just not one of them. Okay? So y'all are the freaks. But sure, if you want to sit there and be like, it's like, girl, please, okay? Ma'am, but sometimes you have to meditate on how to mitigate that harm reduce, without betraying your values. And that's exactly what Aang does. Aang figures out how to harm reduce without going against his values. And that's what I'm always trying to do. How do I harm reduce without going against my own values?
How can a story be finished when you've got internet sleuths? Early in 2023, you've got another prominent conservative figure called Steven Crowder, who obnoxiously thought he could make more than $50 million without Ben Shapiro, and then lost his whole career because he's a abuser, allegedly a wife abuser, in my opinion. Probably recognized from the Change My Mind video series. And he had a hugely public feud with Daily Wire. It was reported that they offered him a $50 million contract to work with them for just 4 years. That's a staggering amount of money, which he then turned around and made public, saying that it was a slave contract. Now, there's a lot more to this whole feud than just this particular part, but he said that he objected to these specific parts of the contract where his pay would be cut if the show lost advertisers or revenue that couldn't be replaced within 90 days. And because they wanted him to host this show and it be ad-friendly, and so he started accusing Daily Wire of, being this big conservative media giant, being no different than big tech, and, quote, putting profit over the honest defense of conservative values. Then, after that, the Daily Wire lost arguably one of their biggest, content creators at the time, Candace Owens. And this also turned pretty big, public, ugly, after she and their co-founder, Ben Shapiro, got into a huge disagreement about her remarks on Israel and Jews. And now you've got Brett Cooper. But at least this time, it didn't get as ugly, at least publicly, as the last two. One of Brett's friends made a video about the whole situation.
This isn't the gay guy you're talking about. Doesn't she have another gay friend? This is the conservative gay guy token guy. I called it what I called it. This is the man who literally talks bad about gay people because they're not normal and they're hurting the gay cause because he's a conservative gay black man. Don't even get me started. Trust me, I've been in the business long enough. I know exactly the shit he's doing. That's the point. He's just Blair White. I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm over all of these people that are willing to throw all of the minorities under the bus to get kissed on the forehead by Republicans. And if you actually believe this, you're self-hating. You're self-hating because only a self-hating person would vote against their own basic civil rights. And that is where you can clear it up in therapy. You can go to therapy for that. Okay? You can go to therapy for that, girl. Because absolutely not. And it is what it is. I say this without judgment. I'm not condemning him. I've been there. I've been a self-hating Republican where I was like, I don't need marriage. I just need some civil rights maybe, or I don't need this. I just need that. I just want to get along with people. I was a log cabin Republican. I get it. And all of it was because I was trying to make it easier for straight people instead of actually being honest about the humanizing perspective that I was actually desiring, which is to be seen and dignified by my community. Okay?
Saying this
regarding Daily Wire, how big and how long will you last at this company when you keep losing your biggest female content? The Daily Wire, it's quite literally a sausage fest over there. They smoke their cigars in their little circle and they chat and they have a key. You're the voice of conservative America and you're really trying to build this conglomerate that is like a Walt Disney. And Daily Wire just has these 4 white conservative men and they're branching out. They get a black woman, gone. They get a white Gen Z girl, gone. It's like, what are y'all doing? How are you this big of a conservative leader and conservative entertainment industry, but you keep losing the people's trust?
And remember when I said the story's not over when you got internet sleuths? Well, this is what I mean, because Brett Cooper's fans went to her Instagram and found that, she deleted these wedding pictures of her and the girl that has now replaced her. And that she also has unfollowed her. And she also apparently unfollowed the Daily Wire accounts and Jeremy Boring. However, she continues to follow other Daily Wire.
Exactly. Matt Walsh, the worst bigot of all time. Do you know what I'm saying? Don't feel bad for Brett, guys. We're just watching a bigot lose her wallet.
Hosts. But I mean, hey, what that represents, all just speculation at this point. And until she drops a video, why I left Daily Wire, we don't know. But here is the point that I've been waiting for someone else to make. about this whole situation, but I just haven't seen yet. You know, YouTube and social media in general has come in and it has really changed and transformed the media landscape. 20 years ago, if you wanted to do what someone like Brett Cooper does, you would more than likely have to, climb the corporate ladders of these media companies like Fox or CNN, and you would just pray to be lucky enough to be given a chance to host a show. Some of these contracts from old traditional media, you sign your rights away for almost everything. Your face, your voice, your likeness, and then they can take that and essentially transform it into...
Exactly. That's why YouTube and OF and all these things have been a godsend for all of us who are independent. Guys, feel free to super chat, like the stream, whatever it takes. I appreciate it because I would rather do this than sell out and become... That's why I don't want to become a part of people's groups. Even bigger YouTuber groups, they have to do similar things. That's why they all regret it in the end. That's why they all break up. It's very hard to find people in the business you can really do business with. It is so rare because people are people and drama comes in, or people and people have different visions for the business. It is very hard to go into business with other people. Even doing a podcast with somebody, guys, if you just start doing a podcast with somebody, now that podcast is worth $5 million, just like with Call Her Daddy. Do you remember what happened with Call Her Daddy? It had 2 hosts. Now it's down to 1. People have different visions for companies. You know what I'm saying? So like all these dreams we have about like, oh, we'll work with our friends, we'll have a business. You better be on the same page. This is why they say don't work with family. Even though, yes, you can work with family and make it work, you gotta be on the same page. You gotta be on the same page or, ooh, girl, it's gonna get messy.
Do whatever they want. And just like what we saw even with like Steven Crowder's contract, you're not 100% free to say whatever you want. There's always stipulations in the contract. And then worst case scenario, which happens quite a lot. We've seen it with Tucker Carlson. We've seen it now with Brett Cooper. We saw it with Candace Owens and plenty more. If the day comes where, you decide to part ways or they decide to part ways with you, that show that you've essentially been the face of and built up, obviously with their help, not yours. Entirely theirs. Because at the end of the day, you are just an employee making a product for them. But then YouTube came along and destroyed that structure of having to work.
Exactly, girl. Shout out to YouTube, girl. Like the stream, guys. 64 likes and over 150 you are here. Guys, please like the stream. It makes a world of difference. Thank you so much.
Work underneath a media company and just be the talent. And it ushered in this new era, the one that we're living in now, the era where you're not just the talent, you're the owner. And for the individual creating the content, ownership is so important. And so I have no idea why we are trying to recreate this old structure that existed in legacy media and then put it into YouTube.
Exactly.
This structure where a media conglomerate.
And it's very common in conservative bubbles. I've noticed it a lot. And I think it's interesting, but there is a mixture of traditional media and alternative media mixing back together because some of the models that traditional media had kind of work with the new model. So they have personalities, right? And the personalities all have channels, and all the personalities within the group have books, and those books get sold and they all become New York Times bestsellers because the person who built the platform, so Ben Shapiro, has all these personalities, and all these personalities benefit from being vouched by Ben Shapiro. And so they all make money. And then when they pull apart and they do their own thing, does it work or not? And that's the thing I thought was interesting with Steven Crowder is that it didn't work for him. Steven, I think he's just unlikable, and I think he's crashing out for a lot of reasons. But it didn't really work out for him as much. Candace Owens, I wonder how she's doing, actually. Let me look it up while we finish out this video.
With millions and millions behind them, can use the talent, but then also give them zero ownership. I mean, we just saw it with the YouTube show, Hot Ones, having to be bought for a staggering $82 million from BuzzFeed, which was the media company behind it. And I mean, just look.
Okay, so Candace Owens' channel, not doing the worst, not doing the best. Let's see. Almost 3.2 million subscribers. 19 hours ago, 300,000 views, 600,000 views one day ago, 900,000 views. Oh, my conversation with OnlyFans model Lily Phillips. Wow, Lily Phillips talked to Candace Owens. She's so good at publicity. Look at her going everywhere. Okay, so her and her husband, 2 million views. She does actually killer on views. Was she doing this good at the Daily Wire? Man, Candace really has a following, bro. 1 million views, 1 million views, 600,000. Candace got views, bro. Candace got views. Okay. Damn. Maybe Ben Shapiro regrets, bro. Hold on. Is Ben Shapiro regretting? Let's see. Ben has 7 million subscribers, so he's technically, obviously, more popular. Oh, he sucks. His views suck. Oh, he sucks, bro. Ben sucks. 45,000 views, 100,000 views, 300,000 views, 200,000 views, 5. I think Candace might be kicking his ass, bro. Yo, there you go. Now he's posting like multiples a day. He posted 4 videos one day within 24 hours, but still her views are killing it. Wow. Okay, Candace. Man, people really like that lady. I don't like her, but there you go. Yeah, Brett's gonna do good. I think Brett's still gonna do good, you know? I think she is going to ultimately do good when she goes alone, whenever that might be. Okay, let's go back.
Look at Brett's top comments on that last video. We weren't watching the comment section. We were watching Brett. People are loyal to people, not networks.
I think this is true. I think the people who are going to follow Brett will follow Brett. And I think the people that will follow Reagan will follow Reagan. I do think there will be a split in the community.
Brett did not bring the comment section to life. She is the comment section. It won't exist without her. So if you are a new creator wanting to come up and you're watching this, I urge you, go independent. Stay independent.
True.
It is a lot harder. It takes a...
So this guy on TikTok does a bunch of news stuff, and he has like crazy subscriber views. On YouTube, he's about 400,000 views, but I think he just started this channel. But yeah, like if you are a content creator, stay independent. Just figure out your niche, and you can make it happen. But Brett, I think she's going to do great independently. I really do.
A lot more time, but I ask you, what is the price of free... Okay, what is the price of freedom is what I was trying to say. And true ownership. That's important.
Actually, great. Chat says, I think right-leaning women do pretty good. I actually think they might because there's not so many of them. They probably do very good because there really isn't a lot of them.
Too. Now, to be fair to Brett, she's not left with nothing. She's left with her community, and ultimately, that is the most important. So while, yes, it is over for her and her 4.5 million sub channel, I believe on the other side, it's just the beginning. She's, what, 22 years old? And whatever she does in the future, she'll be much better off doing it independent. And so, with that...
Wow, did it just show that he subscribed to Brett's new channel?
That being said, ever told you guys how much I love you? That being said, you're shocked. Let's continue. Finish the video. Love you. I'll see you soon. Bye. Woo!
Well, it's very high energy for me. It's too high for me, but thank you, Dylan Page. Okay, that was Dylan Page. I'll go ahead and link the video in chat. You can check him out. Little high energy for me, but shout out to Brett Cooper for only being 22 years old. So many of us are living different lives. We love to see it, I guess. Okay. Chat says, is it weird that I can't stand that hoe, but I'm still low-key proud of her? Yeah. I can't get mad at a black woman getting her back. Oh, Candace Owens? Yeah, like, yeah, I get it. I do. Like, I feel that way even about Brett being 22 and young. And I'm like, or I even feel that way about like, you can't, a part of you is proud for people figuring out capitalism, how to make it. And then another part of you is just like annoyed that they did it the way they did it. But yeah, there's some part of you that's got to be a little bit like, good for you, I guess, but at the same time, it's hard to say good for you without feeling like you're saying good for you for being bigoted or hateful or whatever. Also, she married rich. Like when I say Candace married, she didn't just make her own money, which she did. She also married rich. Richie, rich. Okay. She made her own money and then she married rich. Like not like normal wealthy. Like guys, when you retire, I want you to have $1 million waiting for you, which is better than zero. Okay. All those people who say $1 million isn't enough in this economy. It's better than zero. You negative Nellies. God, the world is so negative. The world is so eager to die poor. They will literally be like, but $1 million isn't enough. It's better than zero. And right now, a lot of y'all are about to retire with zero. Okay. So it's nice to see people, retire with something better than nothing. But Candace isn't going to retire with $1 million, bro. Let me see. Candace Owens' husband, net worth, girl, he rich. 240 million. But somewhere between 180 and 240 million. His dad's business, of course. It's a family business. Yeah, they're not playing with chump change, okay? Didn't Candace spiral into anti-Semitic conspiracy territory last time I saw her? Yeah, she did. Yeah, all the conservatives are on their anti-Jewish arc right now, which is really weird, actually. Like, it's really strange how many conservatives are like anti-Jewish all of a sudden. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on or what you all are doing, but the anti-Semitism has to stop, y'all. You cringe, bro. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's all very strange. But that's basically what it is. And Ben is Jewish, so obviously she wasn't going to stay at the Daily Wire. That'd be crazy. No. Anyway, shout out to marrying rich, I guess.
Stuck in my head, in real life while I'm in bed, my belly's being fed and I'm okay. I'm just fine, yet all I do is whine. Not to you in my mind, cause I know I don't make sense. I've been nothing but blessed, so why's my life a mess? Please tell me, cause I'm sick of thinking. Yeah, I'm sick of reaching out for the truth and living life as a fool. Dun, 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 dun.